Hello, everyone. A very good morning, afternoon, good evening to all of you. My name is Surabhi Kala. I'm a product manager with the Autopatch team. And with me today, I have an expert panel of SMEs who will be helping out answer all your questions. I'll be host for today's session on Windows updates and driver management. So let's start with our introductions in an alphabetical order, starting with Ken, then Ranjit, and then Vishal. Over to you, Ken.
Okay, thank you, Serbi. So my name is Ken Hoosens. I'm based in Belgium, and I'm a PM in the Windows Servicing and Delivery team. I have spent a long time in the Windows Autopatch space, and super happy to be here today, helping answering the questions.
Hi, I'm Ranjit. I'm an engineering manager in Autopatch. I work with Surabhi, Ken, and Vishal in Autopatch. I've been in 4+ years in Autopatch, and I'm responsible for building Autopatch platform and reporting capabilities. Happy to hear and happy to get your questions and feedback on Autopatch.
Hello, I'm Vishal. I'm a product manager with Microsoft in the hot patching area. I've been working on hot patching for a few years now, so happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, everyone. So before we get started, just energize. Already got our first question on the board, so I'm just going to read it out for you. We've got a question from Arshad, and he asks, "How do we patch devices that are on all day, every day, but can only be patched and restarted during the weekends? And if it misses the update and restart during that weekend, to not to try it on the next weekend. Basically, do not patch and restart during weekdays at any given point in time. Is that possible with Autopatch? Ken, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, shall I take that one? Well, when you create your Autopatch group in Autopatch, you can set an installation schedule. So you can configure it to start on a specific time on a specific date. And you can do that every week if you want to. There is no such retry option, retry update if previous failed. That doesn't exist, but you can do a lot with the scheduling.
Thanks, Ken.
Hot patching could potentially help here, but
Vishal, do you want
then
to
they
add
cannot
anything?
reboot. But yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, folks on the call, just reading it out loud. Who all wants to join the session? It's aka.ms/ama/Windows updates. Okay. While we wait for our next question, just looking it out from the panel, what are your favorite feature areas within Autopatch? We'll start with Vishal this time.
I will be biased because we've actually landed with hot patching with auto patch, and I feel that that's a killer option for auto patch to actually have hot patching available with them, because that gives the ability for our customers to be able to patch the machines without needing a reboot. And especially think about you being in a boardroom presenting to the board or presenting to the leadership or anyone else and your customers, right? And all of a sudden you get that alert that, hey, your machine needs to be rebooted because it takes an update. Now with auto patch and with hot patching combined, you can actually get updates without needing a reboot. And that is a force multiplier, right? You're secure, you're productive, and not need a reboot. And when you need it, your machine is there, available all the time.
Perfect. And that might also help with our frontline workers where it's very sensitive, where rebooting machine might not be an option. So thanks, Vishal,
Absolutely.
for
I've
that.
actually worked with a lot of sales folks. I've heard this from for the salesperson who are actually on the field, and their compliance rate is so low because they are always on the run, they're always presenting, they're always doing work, and so it becomes very difficult to keep the devices secure as well. And having this ability now to just push updates to their machines without them having to lose productivity, I think is a great feature from their perspective, right? Keeping them secure and compliant at the same time, especially when they're on the field, right, and presenting to multiple customers and up and about. So it's definitely helpful.
Thanks, Vishal. Ken.
There's another question, but I specifically like the auto-patch groups and the fact that we now changed the wizard, how to create them. It's like a little bit more structured. There's a better overview. You can control every ring independently. So yeah, I think the auto-patch group as such, I think is a really nice feature, as you can mimic your organizational structure into your auto-patch environment. So yeah, that,
Yeah, and it's a safer rollout mechanism as well. So it's
exactly.
amazing. Thanks, Ken. Ranjit.
I think hot patch and auto patch groups have been my favorite too. But if you want to add me the third one, I think I would be add the reporting features. I think one of the important thing of these auto patch groups and hot patch to build trust to the customer and give back to the that service is working, devices are compliance. That reporting is very important to have it right. And yeah, my request to the forum is that enable telemetry. We basically all collect all the data in the enterprise data standard platform and enable reporting back to the customer. We run as a data processor, so data is safe. We have all the standards to meet SOC and HIPAA and even FedRAMP. So data is safe. Please enable telemetry and get reporting of the devices, and that helps in build trust on the platform.
Correct. So true, Ranjit. And Ranjit's team has done the magic to reduce the latency to now under 4 hours, which is so amazing. All right, we have our next question. What types of controls do we maintain with AutoPatch? The compliance factor is really appealing, but we might need to tweak a few things. So, what kind of overall overarching controls do we have for our IT admins with AutoPatch? And let's start with more generic controls, and then we can closely talk about content specific controls.
Shall I take that one?
Yes, please, Ken.
Yeah, okay. So the controls that we have is we can select specific update types. So we can now create different auto patch groups and we can use them for feature updates, driver updates, M365 app updates, Microsoft Edge updates, and we can all configure the schedules and the channels that we're using independently for these update types. Another thing we can do is in the deployment settings, we can choose the next version of Windows, for example, to be maintained or to be installed. We can approve drivers automatically, or we can do that manually as well if you still want to be in control. And then obviously the release schedule, I think that is the biggest maintain or feature set that we can maintain. It's like the automatic update behavior, the install and the restart options, the notifications, and we can do that for the deployment rings. We can do client update deferrals, we can driver update deferrals, deadlines, grace period for the quality and for the driver updates. And then for the Microsoft 365 updates, I think we have amazing things incoming as well there. Not quite sure where or when, but yeah, I think the things that you do today or that you did in the past, managing your updates, the most important things was, hey, how does that installation behave? Is it automatically install and restart? Is it the scheduled install or restart? Then the notifications, do we want all notifications? Do we only want the update related notifications? So I think that's the different areas that you can control using Windows Auto Patch.
Right. Thanks, Ken. So basically, just looking at on the radar, starting from absolutely no control, letting AutoPatch do the patch management for you with the recommended settings to like an nth degree of control where they can actually choose when to install the update, how to install the update, and what the
Correct.
notification behavior
Yeah.
should be. Okay.
You can actually let Microsoft decide for you using the default Windows Auto Patch group. Or if that doesn't suit your environment or your organizational requirements, you can customize whatever you need. And
Yes,
if there is something missing, we would like to know.
Yes, Best of both worlds we have. Okay, thanks, Ken. The next question we've got is, in Intune, how can we pause a single Windows update? At the moment, it seems that we can only pause all updates or none of the updates. And I'm inclining that that might be a question for quality update. So maybe Ken, you can share a little bit about quality updates, what's coming in the near future, so that might be, yeah.
Well, right now, if you look into your update rings, there you see an overview of all the Autopatch groups that you created, and you see whether the quality update is running, whether the feature update is running, and in which different group it is running, right? Now, obviously, a quality update for us is a cumulative update that contains different KB. So I assume that the question here is, how can we make sure we can pause an individual KB, right? And that is indeed not possible today, at least. What is possible is that you go into the update rings, that you go to your ring 1 or ring 2, for example, and that you search for pause quality updates on that specific ring. So you can stop the rollout for your ring and the next rings as well, because obviously if you pause ring 1, ring 2, 3, and 4 will automatically also be paused. And you can do that for quality updates and for feature updates, but I'm not aware of individual targeting of a KB to be paused. So please, if somebody can add there, or
Yeah. So just in that one, we are definitely looking at update specific pause requirements for quality updates. So please stay tuned on the tech community page. We will be inviting folks to do a private preview for us in a couple of months. And please join the private preview so that you can help us validate the individual update pause. So absolutely on our radar and coming in.
nice.
Right. Thanks, Ken. The next question we've got from Benjamin, and he's asking, will Autopatch ever allow user scoping or assignment as opposed to devices? So for them, some of their rings, especially the first groups, they've got hundreds of app owners associated to catch any of those issues. For now, we just have to use the old WoofB way of deploying and configuring update rings and assigning user groups based on roles, which is complex.
Last time I checked, we had a feature request for user targeting that was being worked on. So I would need to check the status, but it's definitely something we have on the radar as well, as a lot of people and customers were asking for that.
Thanks, Ken. So while we wait for the next question, Vishal, would you like to share what's new with hot patching?
Absolutely. I think we had launched hot patching for Windows 11 24H2 machines that were AMD or Intel x84, 86 based. So we are now with ARM. So we have just recently announced that ARM based Windows 11 machines can also now be hot patched using auto patch. I think that is something that we had brought in and working on for a long time to bring that parity. And so now we actually have that parity. And so we're happy to announce that this is now available. So you don't have to pick and choose between, hey, if it's AMD based or is it an ARM based device. And so hot patching is now available across these devices. And I think this is something that we are very, very proud about and be able to offer to our customers. The other thing from hot patching perspective that you would notice is as you are creating your quality update policy, now hot patching is enabled by default on those policies, right? So you don't have to take an extra step to go and enable hot patching where applicable. You can always toggle it off in case you don't want hot patching, but this is now available to you by default as you create new quality update policies.
Excellent. So, Vishal, we do have a follow-up question on hot patching here. Is there any additional cost for hot patch updates, or is it included if they have the Intune licenses?
So hot patching comes at no additional cost as long as you have you're managing your machines using auto patch. There's no additional fees associated with that. It comes with your existing E3, E5 license, or if you have an E3, E5 license. So anything, any prerequisite that's needed for auto patch, you should be able to get hot patching using that, including business premium.
Perfect. So hot patch is tied up exclusively for auto patch customers.
Exactly. Hotpatch is available to you as long as you're managing your machines, devices using Autopatch. The other prerequisite that I would like to call out as well is that your machine should be on Windows 11 24H2 and up, right? So that is another requirement you need to have. And virtualization based security needs to be enabled and running on your machines. We have documentation out there on how you can turn this on directly using Autopatch policies, or you can even do it manually. So there are multiple options that are available and documented online as well. And if you're using an ARM based device, then you need to disable Chippy. So there's a CSP that is out there right now that you can use to disable Chippy at scale for your devices so that you can enable hot patching for those devices. But the OS requirement remains the same. It has to be a 24H2 and up. So if you have an older machine, please do upgrade them to 24H2 and up, and so that you can actually avail of this benefit of hot patching.
Awesome. Thanks. Um, okay. So Ranjit, would you like to talk about licensing a little bit, just to give our customers an idea about the recent changes we've made to expand Autopatch
Yeah.
service base?
Yeah, Autopatch licenses does include Windows E3, E5, A3, um, academic licenses as well as front-end licenses. We also expanded a lot of features to the business premium too. So if the device is registered and managed by the Autopatch, and they have the prereqs that Vishal has mentioned, they can get the Windows Hot Patch functionality. Um,
Thanks, Ranjit. All right, moving to our next question. This is a question from Christian, and the question is there a possibility to automatically enroll a new device to an update ring if you change the device for a user?
Yeah, well, I think if you change the device for a user, that device, for example, by doing a Windows Autopilot reset or something, that you reset it for a new user, that device entity exists, right? So it will be in the same deployment group, deployment ring. Now, on the other hand, when you create a Windows Autopatch group, there is a way to assign a dynamic distribution group, right? And for example, people that do autopilot deployments at scale, there is like a tag that they can use to build their Entra ID group with all the autopilot devices. If you use that group, for example, or you include that group into your dynamic group, then these devices, whenever they are an autopilot deployed device, they will automatically end up in one of the rings, right? Same for Windows 365, for example. As part of the creation of the provisioning policy, you can tell the policy or the system to enroll that device automatically into Windows Autopatch. So yes, it's definitely possible to automate that process.
Excellent. The next question is, Vishal, that might be for you. Are you looking at scenarios where Hotpatch will support ARM64 with Chippy still enabled to avoid any of the performance and compact issue that might be introduced with it?
No, so we are not looking into a scenario where Chippy has to be enabled and hot patching is also available at the same time, right? And as you are looking at your ARM devices and you're disabling Chippy, right, you need to look at what kind of applications you're running on that and if it's compatible for your setting, right? We have not seen, at least from our previews and right now on our GA, we haven't heard customers really talking about like, hey, they're running into app compat issues with Chippy disabled. So so you need to look at your own scenarios and see if that is something that you can do on your machines. From a perf impact perspective, also, we haven't seen anyone say, hey, we are seeing a drop in performance for application that we are running. So we haven't heard as much, but if you do have any specific requirements or any specific apps where you're seeing this, please do let us know, right? So we can make a note of that.
The next question that we have is, can we please? It's more like a feedback that we have, Ranjit, on drivers, where it says, can we please move installation of drivers in Windows to be a pre or a post user phase, especially during the reboot or shutdown, to avoid issues driver install causes while the user is in session that requires an audio and video, which could cause an audio video interruption.
yeah. So Yeah, I think we heard the feedback around the minimizing the reboots required, restarts required, and we definitely working towards to kind of giving one reboot if needed by in a monthly update, orchestrating the security and driver updates together, right? And but this is something new to think about client side orchestration itself, that pre and post post installation. I will note down the feedback. Thank you very much, and I will also work with my cross-functional team to figure it out the feasibility on the orchestration on the client side to do this thing. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ranjit. We've got some more feedback on LinkedIn where it says currently it's very difficult to identify and differentiate between out of band updates when using the expedite installation of quality update features in Intune. To improve clarity and avoid confusion, is it possible to display the current corresponding KB numbers alongside each update in the drop down menu? I think that's a great feedback. Ken, Ranjit, would one of you want to provide any feedback on that? What do you guys think about it? Currently, in the drop-down menu, we just have the releases. So it's up to then the IT admins to go and look for which release was released on which update, whether it's a B release or it's an out of band. If we could include an indication um, or the specific KB number itself, that would be excellent. So more feedback that we can take back, discuss with our feature
Yeah.
teams,
So I
and
think
then
the
get.
ask seems to be pretty good and pretty simple to for us to adapt, because KB title needs to be indicate the out of band so that it will indicate. Um, yeah, I have taken the feedback. Yeah.
And our amazing tech community, if you have more such feedback, because this is what gets us moving. So if you have more feedback, please put your feedback at aka.ms/intune feedback. And we keep a very close tap on it, and we do a weekly review of all the feedback that we get from this community. So please do reach out to us. I'll say it again. It's aka.ms/intune feedback.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Ken and Ranjit, like probably just pointing that question to you guys. What is the best case scenario, and how should the setup be done for driver management? So any best practices that you would want to share, any key issues that you've noticed from customers where the best practices were not followed, leading to issues. That would be really insightful.
Yeah, I can add few things. Can probably can add more of it. I think for drivers specifically, we would obviously connecting to the Windows, prep the machine to connecting to the Windows update, and not setting any policies like exclude drivers, from Windows update. If there are such policies that clear up those policies, and they have prior WSS policies are which conflicting with the getting the drivers from the different sources, disabling them would be really helpful, so that um, just the basic prerequisite required is that device needs to connect it to Windows update, and device needs to be enabled for Windows telemetry. So those are the two key requirements. And primarily the driver management through the auto patch is governed through the update orchestrator, the inbuilt orchestrator that client has, right? So if they were using some of other installers, Windows Update installers, which are calling the Windows native APIs and doing the installations on the device, we would, request them to not to follow that approach. We basically try to, try to be an auto patch, try to be having no other pre-requirements on the device except connecting to the Windows Update. So the inbuilt USO update orchestrator is good enough to get the drivers. If you have anything more kind of legacy coming from SCCM transition to the Windows update, clearing up those caches and removing those extra things would be really helpful. So that So we made as it simple as possible for the people who are cloud connected getting the updates without any prior prerequisites.
Yeah, and in Windows Autopatch, just want to add on that. What we see is that that for the test string, for example, customers want to manually approve the drivers just to see what drivers they get. And then once they feel comfortable for their test string, and maybe for ring 1, which can be an extended test string, then they can automatically allow the approved drivers for the other rings, right? So that is definitely some nice controls and something that allows an IT admin to evaluate before they go all in and enroll the drivers. There are also 3 different types of drivers, which maybe few people are aware, maybe others are not. But what we do with Windows updates is we deliver base drivers. Base drivers is whenever some hardware is detected, we assign the best possible matched driver to that hardware and to that device. So then we assign it. And once you have a base driver available, from time to time, it might happen that there is like an additional driver, an extension driver being sent to that device. So sometimes it might happen that even if you do not automatically approve your drivers, that suddenly you see an extension driver popping up on Windows, and the end user says like, hey, what is this? We are not doing this automatically, but I have my extension driver. That's normal, because whenever we detect a base driver, we will automatically send that extension driver, because it's a driver that Microsoft wrote to improve system stability, right? And then, of course, there is a third type of driver, which is the plug and play driver. Imagine a webcam that you plug in to your device, then the driver automatically is being searched for and is being installed on the device, or a clicker, or any peripheral that you connect. So there are 3 different type of drivers, and that's important also to understand in that area.
Thanks, Ken. So I think I thoroughly enjoyed this session, and I hope it was really valuable for our tech community as well. Thank you for joining us today. Q&A will be open through 12 p.m. Pacific time this Friday. So keep your questions coming, and we'll try and answer them online. Your questions can be posted at aka.ms/ama/Windows Update. Next, just after the session, we have another interesting session. So please stay tuned for that. It's Ask Me Microsoft Anything about connected cache and delivery optimization. You can visit us at aka.ms/ama/connected cache to post your questions. So please keep them coming, and we really value your feedback. Before I let all my experts go, I have just one last question, and let's take that because we've got a minute here. One of our customers has read about checkpoint cumulative updates. Can one of you please explain what a checkpoint cumulative update does?
Absolutely, I'll take that. It's a little rapid because we have short of time. But yeah, checkpoint updates allows you to get differentiated updates as you go along. So for example, like if today what happens is when you take an update, right, you take a cumulative update all the way from RTM all the way to now, right? All the update cumulative. With checkpoint, what happens is we create the ability to take a checkpoint update, and then any update that comes post that is just a differential of the first update that was given, right? So checkpoint comes out in say January, and then anything that comes in Feb is just a differential off from the January onward. That way, your update package size is very, very small. And so we got a lot of requests from our customers saying, hey, we don't want a bulky package coming down every month. Takes a lot of load to download and install for our machines. So we made that simpler, that story much simpler of having these smaller packets come after the checkpoint. And so as the size grows, we again create another checkpoint for you. That way, you only get differentiated packages going forward.
Yeah,
Thanks, Vishal.
Saves the bandwidth. It's a good segue for the next section.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
So please stay tuned for your next session on connected cache and delivery optimization at aka.ms/ama/connected cache. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.